All right, Regina, thank you for that. Well, hey, Super Tuesday, less than 2 weeks away. There are some big issues on the ballot, including, of course, the race for president and the mayor of San Diego.
Yeah, political analysts Laura Fink and Wendy Patrick here to discuss all of this. Good morning to you, ladies. Thank you for coming.
Good morning.
Let's dive right into it, shall we? The presidential race. What is your take on things right now where we stand?
I got to tell you, it changes day by day, and that's partially due to the court calendar, the campaign stop, shall we say, that the former president is having. I also have to say, it is also tied to the news conferences that President Biden is having. You've got these dueling narratives that are constantly fueled one way or another, simply literally and day by day. So it's really exciting, and we can't predict Super Tuesday as well as perhaps I would have said we predicted it 4 years ago. So it should be interesting.
And Laura, it sounds like funding has been going well for President Biden.
The Democrats are well financed, which isn't always the case, but this year it is. It looks like the Republicans are having more of a challenge, both raising money and more they're spending it more. With President Trump and the 91 criminal counts against him, a lot of that money is going to legal fees where they may not want it to. But I don't know that this is really going to be a buzzer beater. This is the first time that we've had a former president and a current president squaring up against each other. There's no buzzer beaters in these races. It's really about who's turning out to vote and who is not.
Okay.
A buzzer beater. I like that, and I agree. We've never seen anything like
March
this
Madness
before.
is coming. So let's talk about Proposition 1. That's going to be one of the big initiatives on the ballot to deal with our homeless crisis that we have here. Can you talk a little bit about your thoughts and the chances of this passing?
You know, absolutely. You know, homelessness is a bipartisan passion. I mean, everybody wants to see a solution. The question that Prop 1 raises, and so many other bills have also raised, is the how. How do we do it? Is it more lucrative to pour money into housing, or is it better to focus on prevention and intervention? And if it passes, I mean, do we want to take money away from programs? That's the argument that's looking for vocational training and trying to provide ways to empower people to rise above their circumstances, or is it simply about warehousing, is what some of the critics would say. And that's a conversation that's been going on for years, so it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out in Prop 1.
What is your take on Prop 1, Laura? I know the wording may be confusing to some people.
It's really about where does the money go on. It's a 1% tax on the richest among us, and it's been in place since 2004. The state has essentially said we're going to bond it so we can raise more money for housing, veterans housing specifically, and services, but it does take away that local control. And it says, hey, these funds were meant for mental health services and beds for the homeless and for the soon-to-be homeless, and the counties have spent it in different ways. So there's an argument for local control versus state control, but 2/3 at the last poll of voters support this. There was $1,000 raised in the opposition, and you've got the governor and millions behind it. It's likely to pass.
You know, what's interesting about the local control issue, too, is like, think about what we just heard about the weather in San Diego. There are so many jurisdictional issues that statewide may not be the same. We know they're not the same because the infrastructure issues, the where do you put homeless people, where do you build new housing, what kind of mental health facilities are available, that's different jurisdiction to jurisdiction. So maybe we do want to keep some of the local control. That's the argument.
2018, there was a similar proposition that passed, but critics argue that not a lot of housing has been built for the homeless since then. Does that have an impact on the way voters might look at this one?
Voters may look at it locally instead of statewide, just like we look at every other issue that passes. Is in San Diego, I mean, the border is one of the biggest ones, but we have unique local issues that want us to be able to have more local control to not only ameliorate the issues, but make life better for everyone who lives here. And that's part of why you see measures like Prop 1 being so hotly contested in cities like this.
But not everyone agrees that local control is working.
That's true. That's why we're talking about this one. There's a lot to say on both sides of this one.
Let's talk about the mayoral race. What are your thoughts on that, Laura? We'll start with you.
Well, this is a race for who's going to be Mayor Todd Gloria's debate opponent all the way to the fall. So you have a couple of front-running candidates, Larry Turner, who's an independent but is backed by a lot of sort of Republican interests and voters. And then you have Genevieve Jones-Wright, another front-runner, who ran as a progressive for DA a number of years ago. She's moderated her stances a little bit, a little less fiery. But the question is, who is Todd Gloria going to be in contention with? Because the top two will move forward to November.
What do you think the challenges are for the current mayor? Wendy?
Well, I think that the debate issues are huge. I mean, there's a lot of times that you can have these great arguments that you hear raised on both sides, and it's who can articulate best to really raise some of these questions. And so the fact that there are so many contenders is going to make it really interesting, but it's also going to focus on the reality that this is not your mother's San Diego. I always like to say that. The issues are not the same today. I mean, just looking at things like infrastructure, the potholes, the heavy rains, the border crisis,
Economy.
even the presidential election. Yeah, the economy, the affordability. We are living in such a different day and age that the debate issues are going to be different. So it matters who's going to be his major contender, because that's going to be where the sparring really is going to to become interesting.
A lot of hot button issues.
Yes, we will have you back on, I'm sure, multiple times.
Hot
before
button buzzer issues.
Buzzer beaters, yeah.
Buzzer beaters.
Thank you,
Phyllis.
ladies.
Thank
Appreciate you coming in.
Pleasure.
Let's check in with Evan for a look at our forecast.